In today's video, we have the latest trade talk around the league. We're looking at the Ottawa Senators, Boston Bruins, San Jose Sharks, plus we have the latest rumors around Patrick Kane, a potential return, what kind of timelines we're looking at. We also have news out of Calgary, including an extension, as well as sad news on Chris Snow. We also have some injury updates and another key moment tonight in NHL preseason actions. We'll see Brind'Amour against Brind'Amour. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Let's kick things off with the news from the Calgary Flames organization. So Michael Backlund signs a 2-year contract extension valued at $4.5 million. This is an incredibly solid value for the Flames and for the team here. And they also, like I said, get them a new captain. It was long speculated that Michael Backlund was going to be the next captain of the Calgary Flames as long as he stayed, of course, and signed an extension. It's a little bit surprising in a sense. It wasn't that long ago in the offseason when Michael Backlund was asked about re-signing in Calgary, what his future was, going to hold here, and he said he really didn't know, and he was going to take a wait-and-see approach and see how the year goes. Many of us thought that he wouldn't even really consider things until at least late the season or the end of the season. Clearly, the whole situation last year with Daryl Sutter really messed with the team dynamic, really had this team in dysfunction, and kept a lot of players kind of doubting that they wanted to stick around. That includes Backlund. I do wonder how much the captaincy was played a role here. I wonder maybe once they had some more conversations in person, if making the offer of being captain to him was going to be part of this. That kind of intrigued him to want to stay. I know it seemed like it meant a lot to him, and it certainly meant a lot to the team to officially put it on his jersey as well. So it's a terrific contract here for Backlund and for the Flames, and I do wonder as well what this is going to mean for some of the other guys to stick around. I know he's obviously, like I said, becomes a leader on this team, has influence and highly regarded. So some of the other guys that were not sure if they wanted to stay, will it impact their decisions as well? Obviously, leaving a little bit of money on the table and taking $4.5 million makes it a little bit more likely to keep some more players around as well, and for them to have a chance to win. So I think they made the right choice here with naming a captain, with Backlund being the guy. And the contract really is phenomenal. He also gets a no-move clause. I believe in the final year it gets switched to a modified no-trade where he can block, I think it's 15 teams. But the no-trade also gets backdated to now. So this year, next year, he'll have a no-trade, no-move clause, and then modified in the final third year. So this is a great news story for the Flames. And I wish that's all I had to say about the Flames today was positive, good, happy news. But unfortunately, we do have some incredibly unfortunate, sad news to pass along as well. Chris Snow, the assistant general manager for the Flames. Many of you are probably familiar with Chris's story. He's been battling ALS for, I believe it's around 4 to 5 years, or right around 5 years now. He's been working through it. He's been an absolute warrior. He and his family have made it their mission as well to raise a ton of awareness, do a lot of charity work, and trying to help find a cure or find treatments for this condition, so that hopefully those who come after Chris can hopefully have a better quality of life, or hopefully have a way to escape this death sentence, because ALS is an absolutely horrific disease that I wouldn't wish on anybody. And to be honest, Chris Snow has been dealing with this a lot longer than most people get the opportunity to. But we did get some really sad news from his wife, Kelsey, who's documented everything quite well between her blog and her social media accounts. But Kelsey shared earlier that she's absolutely heartbroken to announce that Chris became unresponsive yesterday, went into cardiac arrest. Paramedics and doctors were able to revive him and get his heart beating again. But once they were in the hospital, the scans revealed that he suffered a catastrophic brain injury caused by lack of oxygen. And doctors don't expect him to wake up from this. So Chris Snow has been an absolute inspiration. Documented everything that's between him and Kelsey on their social media. He lived with this disease, longer than a lot of people have. I think he's had the option and ability to do some experimental treatments too. I do believe, which might have helped. But with the long support of the Flames and his family, friends and online community. Like I said, he's been an absolute warrior and inspiration that reminds you that no matter what life sends your way, it could always be worse. And no matter what, you need to fight and be there for the memories of your family. Now, of course, Chris and Kelsey have 2 little kids, Willa and Cohen. And imagine knowing at a young age, I don't know their exact ages, but they're quite young. Knowing, from the time you're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old that your dad has an incurable disease and you probably won't have him long. I can't imagine. Doesn't make it any easier knowing for a long time or having something abrupt happen, but just my thoughts are with them right now. I mean, I have a child myself, so I know I can only imagine what they're going through. But we should all be thinking of the Snow family. Chris was an absolute inspiration. I know he means the world to the Flames. Kelsey, I can't believe how she documented everything. It was so strong through this whole battle. I mean, technically Chris has not passed away, but based on her update, Chris, I say we, because I don't really know Chris personally, of course, but the Chris that everybody knew of and seen online and pictures and the videos and his family knew is not really with us anymore. So it's expected that he won't wake up from this. And his time here is extremely numbered. When the Flames earlier tonight announced to Michael Backlund just a couple hours ago, did a press conference to announce the Backlund news and the captaincy. Craig Conroy started off the press conference by acknowledging the situation with Chris and said that he couldn't believe and just didn't seem fair that Chris wasn't there with him. But his son was there. So Cohen, Snow, or Little Snowy as Conroy called him, was at the Saddle Dome to be a part of this historic announcement for the new Flames captain. I mean, his dad's in the hospital on his final time here, and goes to show you just how dedicated that family is and how much that the family loves the Calgary Flames. They've really embraced themselves. And if you're not familiar with Chris's story, certainly look up Chris and Kelsey Snow on their social media apps, mostly through Twitter, or I guess X it's called now. I think they have Instagram, I'm not sure. And it's just an inspirational story. And the whole hockey community is kind of feeling the sorrow right now, and everybody's thoughts, I think, are with Kelsey, Willa, and Cohen, and Chris's family and friends, and the entire Flames organization that have worked with Chris for so long and have made him a part of their community. So we certainly want to pass along our condolences and thoughts and prayers with the entire Snow family. Now on to some other NHL news. Obviously the Flames news is, obviously real happy and positive around Backlund, but real sad around Chris, and just lots of other things to talk about. We are going to have another big night in the NHL preseason action. The Florida-Carolina game will be especially interesting, featuring Carolina Hurricanes head coach Brind'Amour and his son Skyler Brind'Amour on the Florida Panthers. Of course, Skelliter came out of college, signed contract with Florida, and Paul Maurice is putting him in the lineup tonight so he can do battle with his dad. So that's going to be quite something that you don't see very often, or I'm not even sure if it's happened before, to be completely honest. We get all kinds of situations with brothers. It's rare that you see father and son. Sometimes, obviously, you get a father that's working for an organization, but it's rare that you see the dad as a head coach and a player on the other team. So that's going to be a pretty cool experience for them, and certainly a memory they'll get to make. And it's hard to say if it happens again. It really boils down to Skyler and how his career unfolds from here. So certainly want to wish Skyler good luck tonight in his NHL debut in preseason action, and certainly hope the best for Rod to take it in and enjoy the night against his son. Certainly going to be cool for him to share that together. On to some injury news as well. Lots of injury news are starting to pile up across the league. Joel Edmondson, unfortunately for the third consecutive year, is entering training camp in is injured again. He's going to be out for an extended time too. I believe he's got a fractured hand. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. We talked yesterday about how he was going to be out, but we didn't know the full details. Now we know a fracture in 4 to 6 week time frame. Even worse news for the Calgary Flames and Jacob Pelletier. Jacob Pelletier was seen leaving the ice yesterday. I believe it was yesterday, maybe it was this morning, with his arm in a sling. And now they revealed that he needs to have surgery, and he's going to be out indefinitely. He's going to be out for a long time. So that's really unfortunate. I know he was poised to have a big breakthrough year, and it's really unfortunate circumstances there for Pelletier. I hate to see that. Leafs forward Dylan Gambrell apparently is out with a concussion. Apparently something happened during practice yesterday, and he's been diagnosed with a concussion. Of course, again, they're saying indefinite because you don't know how concussions are going to go, and you don't know how long they're going to last. So we certainly want to wish the best to him, but he could be out longer term. We'll have to monitor that situation for Toronto. And in Pittsburgh, Mark Pysyk, he's out in a long-term injury as well, and he's only there in a PTO. So we don't know. I know Mike Sullivan was asked, head coach for the Penguins, like, how was that going to work? And he wasn't really sure. Pysyk never played last year because he was out the entire year with an Achilles injury. And now he comes to camp on a PTO and he's out, and it's a serious injury. So he hasn't played since, like, what, it would have been the end of 2022 or something like that. Like, it's been over a year. So, yeah, that's bad news for him. I would suspect that they're probably going to have to release him from the PTO and I guess maybe consider signing him later. I don't know how that's going to go. Or do they sign him and stash him on IR? I don't know. I'm not really sure, but it's certainly not good news when you're trying to get a contract and you get hurt. Some other news that were announced today as well regarding the Maple Leafs. They appeared, because they haven't officially announced this, but based on what the reporters have been observing at practices the last few days, looks like Curtis McElhinney is joining the organization. And the goalie department, obviously they have a goalie coach, goalie department. He's going to be doing something along those lines. Sheldon Keefe was asked about this, and he said that was up to management to kind of officially announce, because that's obviously not his doing. He just joked that he would probably have something to do with goaltending. He probably knows more than what he can say, but nothing's official as of yet. But McElhinney appears to be joining the Leafs. And the Vancouver Canucks announced today that they're putting Roberto Luongo in their Ring of Honor, and it's going to happen this year on December the 14th when the Vancouver Canucks welcome the Florida Panthers. That's the perfect time to do it. Obviously, Vancouver and Florida, the two teams he spent his majority of his career with. Some debate on whether they should retire his number, and arguably he can say he's the greatest goalie in Canucks history, but at the same time, you can probably say he spent just as much time in Florida. So did he really spend enough time to do a number retirement? Probably not, which is why they're going this route in the Ring of Honor. Either way, he deserves to be honored in some fashion after a long, fantastic run with the Vancouver Canucks. Now, as I mentioned, some updates on Patrick Kane today. We heard last night on TSN Insider Trading, they talked about the fact that the timeline's been updated for Kane and what's been told by his agency, CAA. So essentially how things are going to work is they're going to wait until Kane is considered fully healthy, okay, which is expected to be in about 4 weeks' time. So that's going to put us near the end of October. That's when he's not going to talk contracts with any teams until then. And then he'll talk to any of the teams that are interested and kind of start interviewing and weighing out pros and cons and make a decision on where he's going to go. So it's going to be a little while. Now, CAA also put out a workout video today showing Kane in the gym, showing Kane on the ice, and I tell you, he looks really good. So hopefully the injuries healed well and he can make a return and be pretty close to what he used to be. He did have a significant hip resurfacing surgery, and those are really, really, serious big surgeries. So obviously, you want to hope that he's okay. Now, as far as where he goes, it's difficult to say. As they talked about on TSN Insider Trading, essentially, they said most of the teams that are going to be what you kind of call your contenders that would probably be the most interested in adding him aren't going to have really any cap space. Most of those teams are either capped out or they're in LTIR, and it's going to be challenging. So you're going to end up with a case of if a team's interested and he's interested in them, they're going to have to find a creative way to clear money. So you're probably going to hear, which is normal anyways, but in the next few weeks, probably going to be teams maybe looking, if you see a team kind of shedding some money, that'll be an indication that they're trying to bring in Kane. I don't have an idea. They didn't really say what he was looking for in a contract, but they can't do one of those 35-plus contracts where he can get a bunch of bonuses, take a cheap salary, and the bonuses can count towards next year. He doesn't qualify for that, and he wasn't out on LTIR long enough, like Connor Brown, for example, so you can't do that either. So he needs just a standard contract. And if you put in signing bonuses, then it's going to be a prorated, it's going to increase his cap hit for the year where it's starting after the season starts. So that's going to be tricky. He's ideally, for teams to work the best, he's going to have to take straight salary and a reasonable amount. Now, what's reasonable for Kane, it's difficult to say. Lots of teams that are interested. He's been working out in Toronto. I don't know if the Leafs have any interest, but we've heard Carolina, we've heard Buffalo, and others as well. So, but Kane that's the whole timeline and how it's all going to work and what we can expect for when he does make a decision. Some trade talk around the Boston Bruins. According to Boston Hockey Now, young defenseman Mason Lohrei has been drawing a ton of praise and getting, creating a buzz around the league. So certainly it's kind of bringing into question the future of Matt Grzelcyk. He was a player in the offseason that was already speculated that the Bruins wouldn't mind moving on from. Not that they don't necessarily like the player, but at this point the contract's kind of become a little bit of an issue, and they obviously are tight up against it. They don't really have a proper, top six center. I mean, they have guys that they're going to put in those positions clearly, and they hope it works out, but they don't have anybody with real solid top six center experience. Kind of going by, trial here with guys like Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha taking on a bigger role, and they hope it works out for them. But if they can find ways to shed money that'll help them improve other parts of their team, that's certainly something they want to do. And the Grzelcyk contract is kind of one of those deals where, like I said, it's not like they don't like the player, but when you look around at what everybody's making and what they deliver with that salary, he's just one of those players that becomes expendable. You're kind of in that middle ground. So with the emergence of this young defender that's kind of raising some eyebrows here, kind of makes you wonder. Again, with so many teams capped out or in LTIR, it would likely have to be sent to a team that's near the bottom of the standings that has more, available cap space, whether it be, the Sharks, the Ducks, Blackhawks, or one of those teams lower in the in rebuild mode here that actually have a little bit of cap space available. So we'll have to keep an eye on the Boston Bruins as they make their training camp decisions as camp goes further along. And in Ottawa, as they continue to try to find ways to find cap space to sign Shane Pinto, Elliot Friedman in his latest blog report, it wasn't a 32 thoughts, I think he called it 20 thoughts that he put out today, talked about not only the Philadelphia Flyers being a trade destination to watch for the Sens to shed some money, but the San Jose Sharks might be another team as well. Obviously, they're a team that has a little bit of flexibility that might be able to take on a player like a Matthew Joseph to find the room for Pinto. And, the other thing that came to mind today as well is I wonder what the Flames might do now with Jacob Pelletier. Possibly being out super long term. If he's out for a big chunk of the year, they're probably going to want to replace that. There was already some rumors around the Flames in the offseason. They may want to add like another third line player. Flames, of course, like a lot of teams, is they don't have much flexibility cap-wise. If they put Pelletier in LTIR, that's not going to give them a whole lot of wiggle room because he's not making very much money where he's under $1 million. So taking on a player like Joseph might be challenging for them unless they made some other moves like moving on from a goalie, moving Dan Vladar. If they move Vladar, who's making over $2 million, and go with Dustin Wolf as the backup, that gives them a bunch more space. So that might be something that we know they're interested in doing anyways. If they're able to do that, it could be a spin-off effect. So you never know. I don't know if Calgary for sure would be in on that, but I know I just personally think that it makes sense based on the previous rumors of what they wanted to do, and now they have an injury to deal with. And of course, the Sharks do make sense as well, according to Elliott. So the Sens continue to find ways here to try to create that space to get Pinto in the mix, and it's becoming more and more challenging. One of the things they may end up doing as well, if they don't want to move a certain prospect, is move the first round pick they got from Detroit in the Alex DeBrincat trade. They'd still have their own first rounder, but at least it's something they're going to have to. They're probably not have much of a choice but to pay the price, because prices at this point don't seem to be changing. We're getting deeper in the camp, and it's important to get Pinto there to get in the mix of everything. So we'll see where things go. The Sens are actively working on that. Let me know your thoughts on all today's news and rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.